Wait, stop, this is not the tier list. This is the tier list from last week, and what I want to do for this video is shuffle Pokemon around based on where they've landed over the last couple of days, because we are starting to see settlement from the anniversary update. Also, emblems already starting to matter. Turns out it's not a pay-to-win system, and we're just getting so much free stuff. We just had the energy reset. Also, you're getting like a free energy tank every week, tons of boosters, tons of events. There's also just like the energy campaign going on, and it seems like a lot of people have been able to get very significant emblem effects in a short amount of time, and it's only going to get crazier, so that is a consideration moving forward. And the reason why I'm going to be doing like this whole shuffle thing is it hasn't even been a week, and talking about like almost 40 Pokemon all over again isn't really necessary. So S tier, I haven't really seen too much of a mix-up with S tier. The only maybes are Zeraora and Mr. Mime. Now, Zeraora can be super duper dominating. If it gets ahead, it gets its Unite move at Dreadnought, it takes Dreadnought, game is over, because now it's going to have like crazy Unite charging, it's going to be uniting every team fight, it's going to be doing absurd amounts of damage, and then that just makes it oppressive. Now it's not like launch Zeraora oppressive with these changes, and Zeraora was always secretly A+ tier, so now it's just like either the best A+ tier Pokemon or actually S tier. The thing I haven't seen with Zeraora though is like the super duper always powerful consistency, and I feel like you can't achieve S tier Zeraora from lane, so you need to put it in the jungle if you want to get the most effectiveness. There's also a lot of other really good jungles out there, so it's not like must pick, this is the best Pokemon right now S tier, but it is strong and worth consideration. Mr. Mime. Cooldown reduction emblems on Mr. Mime make this Pokemon S tier. Maybe it's always been S tier. I keep talking about how it's like the highest skill cap in the game because the character is so wacky, weird, and unorthodox, but it's always had a really good kit, and if you just kind of dedicate everything in your body to Mr. Mime, you are rewarded with absolute absurdity. And with that, yeah, S tier. I played like a random game on Mr. Mime, had the best game I've ever had on Mr. Mime. Now we lost because teammates are just stupid, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, this Pokemon's playing absolutely like S tier right now. So I'm thinking Mr. Mime lands S tier. It is kind of weird to have so many S tiers, but it just kind of like represents the roles to a degree. So we have just crazy bruiser DPS fighter Pokemon. Aegislash does that, but like Garchomp has the sustain, so it's kind of like two different classes inside of it. But yeah, much like Mr. Mime, if you master the incredibly high skill ceiling of Aegislash, you just don't die, and then you kill everything, and then you have like really good secure at objectives, and you're just nuts. Hoopa, game breaking, 12-second teleport. League of Legends is nerfing teleport because top lane has become so toxic, and they've talked about removing teleport in the past. So you know what the Pokemon Unite devs thought was cool? Let's make a team-wide teleport on the Unite move and a 12-second basic ability teleport, just to even like funnel worthless brain-dead teammates into the places they need to be, and then Hoopa Unbound is just busted as well. So yeah, just Hoopa makes the game unplayable. It's not okay. Like, in coordinated play, best Pokemon in the game, stupid. Cinderace, best AD carry, that floats it to S tier. Glaceon, new Pokemon's overpowered. Mamoswine, always secretly the best tank. So now let's kind of like talk about some other shuffles. Greedent, I'm doing the unthinkable. Moving it to B tier. Also, I've been seeing Clefable's performance really synergizing with this patch. A tier, tentative A+. Just keep an eye on that Pokemon. But Greedent. So the reason why I've ranked Greedent so low is because the Pokemon is 90% grief. What Greedent's goals are against what the game is about and are only a hindrance to its team. You know, trying to invade. Even if you have a successful invade, that doesn't just end the game right there. It can be annoying. That's the thing, like, Greedent is an annoyance, and it can go from a mild annoyance to pretty significant annoyance, but it's just an annoyance. It also wants to like backdoor and do trolly things. The Pokemon is built and plays like an April Fool's character, but sometimes meme stuff shows power in unexpected ways. But you know, while it's trying to like backdoor off to the side or split push or something or be annoying, well, in skilled play, or if you have like competent teams that can exploit that, now you just take advantage of the 4v5, and whatever advantage Greedent is getting, kind of exploiting you and griefing like its enemy, or like kind of messing around with you and stuff, while it's doing that, you just get the advantage back elsewhere, and then Greedent actually becomes a serious liability, which is why I've never really kind of like valued it at anything. Also, if Greedent falls behind or doesn't do successful things, it's just completely worthless, and like the game is over based off the Greedent. But Zapdos is the game. Dreadnought is the game. Greedent has a lot of really stupid interactions. Being a tank class, it does bonus damage to wild Pokemon. So the Belch is kind of uncontestable. Even the Bullet Seed has like it hits so fast that if you're not like perfectly timing your secures, it's going to get like a weird tick, some bonus damage, and then like, oh, it just stole Zapdos with Bullet Seed. That should have never happened. And even against like really good players, those incidences can happen. So the thing is, like, Greedent just kind of exploits nonsense. However, that can decide the game, so I'm going to bump it up to B tier since I have seen successful Greedents. But like I said, like, the Pokemon, its goals aren't really conducive to winning in the game, which is always why I've undervalued it. But at the same time, it has, like if it could do the thing. And if it does start doing the thing, it becomes more than just annoying, and it can still be stoppable. Like, it's not unstoppable. It's not S tier unstoppable. It's not A+ tier reliable. It's just, it's better than I give it credit for, and it's not a completely worthless pick 5% of the time. But again, like when people just kind of run it out and do like Griefy, I'm going to invade Greedent, I'm going to do this Greedent, yeah, then you're just costing your team to get the game. And that's the thing, like Greedent doesn't play the game properly, but sometimes it becomes Greedent's game. And now you're the one playing improperly, and Zapdos is gone. Dang. Looking at some of the other Pokemon, it's like, man, Absol really fell off, but that's where we get into like weird meta-analysis and pick rate and stuff. The game is just filled with NPCs. That is what I use meta-analysis and like the win rates and stuff to find out. That people are just slaves to either influencers or I don't know. Like, I don't know where these bad ideas come from. Who said that Gengar needs to be going Shadow Ball Dream Eater, even though it is objectively the worst moveset? And that's even, like, through the win rate statistics. I don't even take this as, like, gospel. Because you just kind of look at what a Sludge Bomb Hex Gengar does to a team, does to objectives. Shadow Ball Dream Eater, yeah, if it gets the resets and starts popping off, it does some crazy stuff. Or you just AoE 2 people and you have more damage, and then like you eventually KO one of them, and then that doesn't stop you. But if you either whiff the Dream Eater, which again, like even perfectly skilled Gengar playing perfect Shadow Ball Dream Eater, ability weaving, reset, rotations and stuff is just worse than Hex. But for some reason, there's a 1 in 3 chance that, or there's a 2 in 3 chance that you're just going to be getting the griefing Gengar that's running it down on the worst moveset. And also, the best Gengar moveset that, you know, only 4%, 5% of Gengars are playing, the people that have been here since the beginning of Pokemon Unite, that actually know what's going on, that are playing like perfect, full heal into multi-unstoppable Sludge Bomb Hexes, they're actually running away with the game. So I don't know, where did this bad idea happen? Who started this trend? I can't put my finger on some of this like stupidity that just happens. And that's what I mean, like, just NPC nonsense. So, suddenly, Absol's just gone. 10% win rate. From, like, or not win rate, 50% pick rate to 10%. Over a little bit of nerf. Even though, like, and that's kind of also the weird thing. Like, I put Absol at A tier, even with the buffs, and now that it's nerfed, that just, like, naturally B tier. But I think if you're just a good Absol player, or a good player, you can still make Absol somewhat successful. So, I think it's fallen harder than I feel like it should have, even though it is still just kind of like a middling Pokemon. But again, like bad Pokemon get the pick rates and stuff, and it just makes no sense. Also, what is Pikachu doing at 30% pick rate? Why is Pikachu the most picked Pokemon in the game? I still hold it at D tier. I still hold it as like, just doesn't do much. So it's not like, oh man, Pikachu's getting picked and is winning, so therefore I'm gonna float it up or something. Nah. I had a good jungle Pikachu, which was weird, and I had a lane Pikachu synergize with me pretty well. So I mean, like, Duos Pikachu probably B if you can just kind of get that oppressive lane going, but it doesn't work with a lot of things. And I think that it's just kind of been crept out of the game, and it really just kind of like unites into the team fight at Dreadnought and Zap and just dies to the oppressive amount of damage in the game. And even then, it has to put itself at too much of a risk to put out damage on its regular abilities, which really don't do all that much, unfortunately. I did want to make like a weird note that I think Pikachu might actually be the most balanced, well-made character in the history of MOBAs. Now, unfortunately, that means it's bad in Pokemon Unite when you have absolute nonsense rolling around. But look at this. The archetype, where it's like, oh, how you have ground versus dragon Garchomp, where it's like, yeah, you can either pick the thunder moveset, or you can pick like the more brawly kind of moveset on Pikachu. They're equally viable, it seems. Like, they're not being picked the same, but it is one of those things where it's like, Pikachu, 50% win rate. It's just flat consistent, kind of no matter what you do. It's weird how balanced it is, but overall the performance, I feel, is underwhelming. I want to put Snorlax at D tier, but I feel like its laning is the only thing that like keeps it from being D tier at this point, because the tackle's secure, too good. You do the right like pressure lane, like Lucario Snorlax, your opponent's just not getting any camps. Anything like that is going to be really nasty. So you don't fall behind on Snorlax, and even if you get ahead, you just aren't impactful. But then like you can get a good block. The Unite move doesn't really do too much, but maybe it matters. Maybe it like stalls. Maybe you surviving does something weird. So like it's just all right. But yeah, we're not going to see a shift on Snorlax. B tier feels about right. I have seen some Venusaurs kind of be really strong, but Venusaur has the same problem it's always had. That what it does is when ahead, it does more than a lead with most other Pokemon. It struggles to get that lead. Also, it's very team comp based, both yours and the enemies. The enemies allow you to scale because their comp is also kind of weak early. Venusaur's having a good time. If they just picked 5 Pokemon that don't allow you to play the game, and your team is also not really supporting you too well, you're going to have a hard time. So, and then like Venusaur can go in the jungle to mitigate some of that, but like I said, there's other really good jungle Pokemon out there. So it kind of like lacks the consistency, but it has A+ power in there. And that's kind of things I've talked about in the past when it's like, I had Venusaur in B tier, and then I floated it to A tier saying, yeah, but leads. But I feel like Venusaur is having a harder time kind of doing what it used to do to move from B tier to A tier. Crustle. Or not Crustle. Why did I say Crustle? I was like looking at Crustle when I put up Cramorant. Cramorant. I'm floating him back to A+ tier because of the full cooldown reduction build. This is where emblems matter. It doesn't make sense. I did a video just kind of showing how I'm popping off on kills, and it's not making sense. I'm not running AP items. I'm not getting any special attack, but I'm killing people all the same because I get a level up because my cooldowns are making me just perform better overall, and then I have no weaknesses. And you hit level 13, and now you can actually like get multiple rotations off at Zapdos instead of like Surf Hurricaning, Uniting, and then waiting until you die and hoping your team cleans up. No, there's actually like more that Cramorant can do, and the cooldown, like ability weaving, positioning, and all that stuff, kiting and whatnot, has made it to where the ceiling has been raised, and now you also have more battle item options. So the Cramorant's just, you need to play it better, and then you get more reward. Do not run Dive, Air Slash. That's the worst moveset. You are griefing if you do it. Doesn't do anything into players with an IQ above room temperature, but 90% of players suck, so maybe that's why people think it's strong. But no, it's a completely fraudulent moveset. Surf Hurricane, though, putting Cramorant up there. Still needs buffs. Unite move, very weak. Like, you just kind of use it, and it's like, wow, I'm hitting 600, 600, 600. Any other Pokemon is just going to like out DPS me on regular abilities. Like the Unite move on Cramorant doesn't define anything anymore, and there's so much there's so much mobility. There's so much like other weird stuff in the game to where you just get collapsed on. It's not like early day Cramorant where you just kind of like post up and people would fear you. Now you post up and that's the dinner bell. And you're dinner. That's not good. So a lot of weird stuff. The Whirlpool nerf makes it to where Cramorant doesn't get ahead as reliably as much. Cramorant still has problems, but it still has like that skill ceiling of A+ tier shenanigans. Decidueye, it does like really powerful things, but it's also still like frail. Like Decidueye can just command a game a bit more than it used to, I feel, but then still just kind of like completely fall apart. However, the Unite's crazy. Just like this is also not in order. It's not like, oh, this is the best A tier Pokemon, this is the worst A tier Pokemon, but in your mind, float Decidueye just a little bit more in A tier. I think he's performing well. I think Azumarill's still B tier. Not D tier useless, but B tier. Doesn't do much with the buffs, but like the people that have been Azumarill faithful, that have hundreds of games, that understand the Pokemon, can play it now. That's about all I have to say, but it's not like, oh, it got buffed, so let's move it up a tier. It doesn't feel like that in practice. I still think Eldegoss is undiscovered on like where it can succeed in this meta and all this other stuff. Blissey, really interesting on just like, yeah, everything's kind of staying consistent. Blastoise would be A+ tier if it wasn't for the weak laning. So, but it's also still like pretty strong in the late game. And I think that's it. It's mostly just kind of like not a lot of changes for this update, but I did kind of want to reiterate some things. I did want to be like, hey, I think Greedent getting buffed to B tier is worthy enough of a tier list video on its own. And also just kind of like talking about what's happened to some of the Pokemon as a result of this. Cooldown reduction, bumping Mr. Mime and Cramorant up an entire tier. So that's cool. I don't think the emblems have done much for Greedent, and maybe Greedent like becomes a bit more of a successful B+ tier Pokemon as that gets figured out on it. But yeah, everyone's just seeming to run cooldown reduction. Attack speed is still going to take a while to like really figure out because it's such a nonsense stat in the game, and it took us months to figure out how even Muscle Band worked. So let's see how those interactions play out per level. That's going to be fun. A lot of people are just running crit. A lot of people are just taking like the stats that feel right on the Pokemon. So some Pokemon feeling a little better about that. It's not enough to like change an entire tier unless Pokemon's like cooldown reduction based. And then yeah, like Trevenant's nasty. OG was taken. We'll never let Lucario fall into A tier no matter how many nerfs. Maybe it's still S tier, but I doubt it personally. Sylveon's strong, but is losing out to Glaceon. Machamp maybe touching A tier now. Because I've seen less of it. I've seen less success from the Machamp. So maybe he somehow lost, even though like full crit... Maybe that's the thing, like you're going into full crit Machamp on the page, but it's also costing you like durability stats. And now you're losing razor thin margins that aren't being made up by a crit attack or something. So there are some weird things that aren't kind of adding up right now. And it's still a little murky, and some people are still trying to get their right emblems on the Pokemon. But emblems impacting the game. And some Pokemon are shifting around, and we're going to keep an eye on it. But I think now the game is feeling right when you look at it like this. So, hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.